student. That's before 70 years, I guess. Not 70, 65 years. We didn't have any facility. No lighting. All the walls were dirty. We were not even allowed to make frames because frame can cost, and some students cannot spend money. So I am very happy. Only thing is, they still have to depend upon whatever space they get. Some people are fortunate where light is convenient. Somewhere light comes on your face. Otherwise, I think very. On the other hand, earlier it was mainly display was not really display. It was put on walls so the examiners can see it. Now, this is some kind of a rehearsal for their solo show, no? In a professional genres. I think it's very good.
जैसे आप जानते ही हैं, ये हमारा एनुअल डिस्प्ले है स्टूडेंट्स के काम का। और इसमें बीबी और एमबीए के फाइनल ईयर स्टूडेंट्स का जो वर्क होता है पिछले 1 या 2 साल में किया हुआ, उसका डिस्प्ले है। और ये डिस्प्ले हर साल किया जाता है और हर साल जो काम होता है अलग होता है, कि कोई भी वर्क ऑफ आर्ट डुप्लीकेट नहीं होता। ऑल वर्क्स आर यूनिक। मेरे पास बार बार लोग आके पूछते हैं इस बार क्या अलग है। मुझे कहना पड़ता है कि हर चीज अलग है। लोगों पे देखने का भी नजरिया अलग होता है, अलग अलग लोग आते हैं, उनका नजरिया भी अलग होता है। और ये जो काम है बेसिकली अगर आप देखेंगे इसमें स्टूडेंट्स की 2 साल की मेहनत और उनकी जो क्रिएटिविटी, इमेजिनेशन, उनके जो कंसर्न्स हैं, वो सारी चीजें इसमें रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाती हैं। और हमारा पर्पस ये होता है कि ये जो स्टूडेंट्स को थोड़ा एप्रिसिएशन मिले, एक्नॉलेजमेंट मिले और सोसाइटी में भी लोगों की सेंसिटिविटी टुवर्ड्स आर्ट डेवलप हो। इसीलिए ये 2 दिन हम लोग पब्लिक के लिए, व्यूइंग के लिए रखते हैं।
ફેકલ્ટી ઓફ ફાઇન આર્ટ્સમાં જે પરીક્ષા હેતુ વિદ્યાર્થીઓ વર્ક કરેલું હોય, હું અહીંયા સ્ટડી કરતો હતો ત્યારે બી ડિસ્પ્લે થતું હતું, મારું વર્ક બી થતું હતું. અને ત્યાર પછીના આજે હું એઝ એ ટીચર અહીંયા છું અને જોવા જઈએ તો બહુ જ લાંબા સમયથી આ પ્રદર્શન ડિસ્પ્લે હું જોયા કરું છું. દર વર્ષે વિદ્યાર્થીઓ અલગ અલગ તેમની બુદ્ધિ ક્ષમતા પ્રમાણે બહુ સરસ સરસ કામ કરી અને ડિસ્પ્લેમાં મૂકતા હોય છે અને આગળ વધતા હોય છે. એવી જ રીતે આ વર્ષે બી એવું જોવામાં આવે છે કે બહુ જ સરસ, ખાસ કરીને સ્કલ્પચરનું આ વર્ષનું વર્ક આફ્ટર લોંગ ટાઈમ મને બહુ જ આનંદદાયક લાગે છે.
I think there is certain kind of professionalism which has come into it, and I remember in nowadays it was never ever such a mega event which is slowly becoming to be, and we didn't even have enough money to frame our works. So whatever works we had, we just put them up on the space which was allotted to us. Whereas now one sees that there are sponsors coming into the picture, and students also look at the display as an opportunity to state that they have already become professional artists. I think this is the major difference. There are good things about it and there are bad things about it too. The good thing is that they begin to respect their work in a very different way, and they begin to look at themselves as a full-fledged, matured artist, which I don't think we ever did it in those days. We thought that it is just one stage, whereas now they look like a threshold from where they could plunge into the professional art scene. That's a good thing, but the bad thing is that you also begin to censor. You also begin to edit your works and think more about presentation than the actual content of the work. So what happens is that sometimes the works can look little bit superficial. Like say for instance, when we were students, we also displayed our sketchbooks, even little doodles and so on, because we thought that by looking at those exercises, the examiners would be in a position to actually see how we think. Whereas now, I think students tend to think that by making by presenting actually those works, you would be actually diluting or bringing down a certain kind of a maturity of the work. So this is again one of the issues which I think has come up due to this process of editing which I was talking about. The way we have been able to, with whatever reasons that may be, able to connect with the public, connect with the city, connect with the the population of Baroda and elsewhere and beyond that, is something remarkable, and I can't quite think of any other college or a faculty, art college or faculty which have managed to do that. I think it is something to be seen, to be believed, and it's wonderful that it's happening.
The display is like a festival. It is a conclusion of 4 years for a BFA or a diploma student and 2 years for a master degree student. So it's a show which showcases what the journeys that each one has taken and what they've come out with. It's a great opportunity to also interact with the larger audience of the city, as well as some visitors who come from outside the city and other cities. And over the years we have managed to make a reputation, so people do come to check out what the fresh batch of students have come up with. For us, it's a sort of finale of all that goes into what you may loosely call teaching art, and the result sometimes surprises even us.
Being an insider, having known these students for 6 years, some 4 years, some 2 years, but this whole display tackles, you have this very simultaneous feeling of feeling good at the same time feeling bad, because feeling good because the display, which is the jury and their graduation jury and their effort they went through in education and the kind of work which they did, they're sort of showcasing that for the jury as well as for the public. So that is, in a way, yes, they're sort of stepping out to the real world, and that was very positive time and space. And the other sense is that I feel sad because, they are not going to be here anymore. So these are two kind of a feeling I have right now.
I enjoyed looking at the degree displays for many years. I enjoyed it just based on the fact that it kind of provides one an ability to know the kind of directions that young art students engage with. But I have a certain kind of expectation from the Faculty of Fine Arts, and so perhaps because it's my alma mater, it's something that I hold greater expectation, and sometimes I'm quite tough with the manner in which I critique the works. I think that what is important to note is that the education system in an art college is providing students with a view of where to engage themselves with, providing them with inputs into art history and into current trends and practice, and then to want something even better. So my critique would be that I would like to see more of an understanding of how art is presented for students to understand that even the placement and the presentation of an idea is also part of the artwork in its totality. That's one thing. The second thing is that I wish to see students use the opportunity of artists coming and visiting their space more productively, where they would desire to engage in discourse and encourage critique so that it becomes something that is almost like the extension of the fine art movement. My responses to this particular display is that I am really excited to see how wonderfully many of the students have stood tall and inhabited their responsibility, showing us that they are going to be capable artists in the future. So I'm quite delighted, and I continue to want more work, more engagement of the students with the city of Baroda, with the artists who are outside of the teaching premises. But as someone who is from this institution, I remain very proud of the activity.
It's like it's a very slow rapport. From the first 4 years of dire, we observe and then open up for the relationship. And it's at the end we also realize some potential, some caliber in the student. And वो शुरुआत में कहीं होता दिखता है, but you don't know how to tackle, how to take it out, bring it out. I think towards the end you see that in the students something has cropped up, and it's a great pleasure to see that. Ultimately display के time में there is something पता नहीं चलता है क्या होने वाला है, but at the end you see something very very pleasurable. Okay. And the thing is that the thing is 4 years they study और पढ़ना है उनको यहाँ मौका नहीं मिलता. That is not everyone can get admission. They have to try out other places. There are a lot of institutions are there. They should spread out and they can. यहाँ पे जो सीखा है, it's always it's like a coordination. इधर से जाओ और कहीं डालो चीज़. So it actually it in fact spreads certain sensibility यहाँ से लेकर के दूसरे जगह में they can spread. This is, you feel they do their best in their life.
This is one display in all Indian College of Fine Arts. You go and see the displays are happening, but this is the most public participating and ex-students participating. It's like a festival. People coming and gathering and meeting and talking. So that way, it's not about particularly this display, but this display, I say, like so each time it is more and more become. It's a nice. There is so many nice works are there, but at the same time, people should look more into the artistic process more than a display. Like whatever you made, putting it in a nice pedestal. More than what you make, you have to think about that, going deeper that. So that I want to see more and more. That's what I mean.
Shifting to a school like Baroda in itself sort of brings together a lot of pressure. I mean, you come to an institution that sort of upholds a long sense of legacy. to be able to also understand that the school has been largely known as a post-independence liberal school. The idea of the narration has changed constantly, probably with every decade. Within the last 10 years, this itself has been challenged with narrativity somewhere sort of changing its garb and becoming something much more conceptual rather than being a little more, what changes within the contemporary is the idea of emergence that sort of largely stems in the school of Baroda. What moves in are display formats itself that have been sort of ruffled to look and experiment with how works are going to be looked at, how they're going to be perceived, how they're going to be presented. This brings together a whole new identity to how we look, to how practices begin to look post 2005, and how the display itself starts changing. The advent of alternate spaces of display, the advent of reducing the chastity of the walls and moving out to much more open, unaccessed, unkempt spaces sort of becomes even more interesting. It would be fair to say that the fine arts display itself has sort of reinvented itself over the past few years, with each year moving a bit ahead from the previous in terms of how experimentation with the space or creation of the space, or just the mere idea of making the space work around or work along with your work has sort of become more prominent. It is interesting to also be able to understand how the school has become largely accommodating to diverse practices in the sense that disciplines have started existing within disciplines. For example, students in painting were now dabbling with installation, dabbling with sculptures, and were also sort of working with video sculptures for that matter, with photographs. Similarly, students in sculpture have also started experimenting with videos, with photography. To sort of maneuver yourself within the program that you are a part of, but to bring so many more disciplines that you're coexisting with to your practice has become equally interesting and has made language, has made vocabulary, has made its lexicons extremely wider, which I think has sort of given largely to the kind of work that has been coming out of Baroda over the past 10 years, 15 years if you'd like to look at it, say since 2000. And interestingly so, the personal has become largely common as well, to be able to understand that so many practices have coexisted in a place in such intimacy with each other, to understand that the school sort of lives and thrives on conversations that have formed like a staple of how this institution works. To also look at interdepartmental exchanges where print sort of works with painting and painting sort of works with sculpture, and it sort of forms a whole net which is cross-marked by what a discipline gives to the other and what the other discipline takes from the other. It's also equally interesting to be able to understand how external influences have found a nativeness within the school itself, intrinsically of what we may understand as the knack or the flair of the Baroda school. But at the same time, it now lends itself a certain sense of universality, how it moves within and beyond and within the fabric, the rubric of Indian contemporary art. These new voices, or what we may soon start to refer as emergent Indian art, is in itself going to be a fair share of reckoning that Baroda is going to have a major part to play in. There is nothing quite like what forms or informs a display of this magnitude, of this experiment, of this innovation, of such risks, to be able to push constantly and understand that it is not just about the idea being transformed into a work, but it's about the journey of the idea being transformed to the work, and therefrom how the work exists in a certain space and moves.
मैं हर साल वैसे तो डिस्प्ले देखने के लिए आता हूँ यहाँ बड़ौदा। मैं एक्चुअली गांधीनगर से आया हूँ और एवरी ईयर मैं यहाँ पर ये डिस्प्ले देखता हूँ। तो मैं इस साल का डिस्प्ले देख के इतना खुश हुआ हूँ क्योंकि इस साल के डिस्प्ले में एक खास बात ये है कि सब आर्टिस्ट ने अपने अपने तरीके से बहुत मेहनत करके अच्छे काम निकालने की कोशिश की है। और ज़्यादातर खुशी इस बात की है कि इसमें अपना हाथ चला के कुछ ना कुछ किया है, नहीं कि कुछ प्रिंट मीडिया या कुछ और जो तरीके अपनाते हैं, शॉर्टकट्स अपनाते हैं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं किया है। लेकिन जो बेसिक्स है आर्ट फंडामेंटल्स, उनको लेके कुछ अच्छा काम निकालने की कोशिश की गई है। तो इसके लिए मुझे बहुत खुशी है और मैं मानता हूँ कि डिस्प्ले बहुत ही अच्छा होगा।